The law office of Harrison and Partners loomed before me, its brass fixtures gleaming in the morning sun. I smoothed down my simple black dress, remembering the last time I'd seen Grandma Rose alive. Unlike the rest of the family who visited her only when they needed money, I'd spent every Sunday with her for the past 5 years, listening to her stories and sharing quiet moments. "You're not welcome here." My Uncle Richard's voice cut through my memories as I reached for the door handle. He stood blocking the entrance, his expensive suit a stark contrast to my department store dress. Behind him, I could see my cousins and other family members already gathering in the conference room. "I have a right to be here," I said quietly. "She was my grandmother too." "This is for real family only," he sneered. "Not ungrateful strays who refused to help with medical bills." My throat tightened. They had no idea that I'd spent my entire savings, $45,000, on Grandma's private nurse care. She'd made me promise not to tell them. "They only care about the money, dear," she'd said. "Let them show their true colors." "Emily didn't even visit her in the hospital," my cousin Jessica called out from inside. "She doesn't deserve to be here." If they only knew about those quiet hospital nights, when I'd slip in after my late shift at the bookstore. How I'd read to Grandma for hours while they were all at their cocktail parties and charity galas. "I'm not leaving," I stated firmly, though my hands shook. Uncle Richard stepped closer, his cologne overwhelming. "Listen here, you little." "Is there a problem?" A refined voice interrupted. Mr. Harrison, Grandma's lawyer for 30 years, stood in the hallway, carrying a large briefcase and what looked like an old shoebox. "Just keeping out unwanted elements," Uncle Richard smiled smoothly. "Family only, you understand." Mr. Harrison consulted his notebook. "Ms. Emily Carter? Please come in. You're specifically named in the documents." The silence was deafening as I followed Mr. Harrison into the conference room. My relatives sat around the massive oak table, all wearing expressions of barely concealed disdain. Aunt Patricia clutched her designer purse, while my cousins whispered behind manicured hands. "Now then," Mr. Harrison began, setting down his briefcase. "Before we proceed, Mrs. Rose Carter left specific instructions about this meeting." Yes, Uncle Richard waved impatiently. "Let's get to the distribution. The family estate needs proper management." Mr. Harrison ignored him, pulling out an iPad and what looked like a video remote. Mrs. Carter recorded a message 2 weeks before her passing. She insisted it be played before the will reading. "A recording?" Aunt Patricia frowned. "Is that really necessary?" "It's non-negotiable," Mr. Harrison stated firmly. He pressed play and suddenly Grandma's face filled the large screen on the wall. My heart clenched. She looked tired but determined, her silver hair neatly arranged, wearing the pearl necklace I'd helped her put on that day. "If you're watching this," her voice rang clear and strong, "I'm no longer here. And I'm certain my loving family has gathered like vultures to pick over what's left." Uncle Richard shifted uncomfortably. My cousins stopped whispering. "For 30 years, Grandma continued, I've watched you visit only when you needed money. Heard your fake concern while you eyed my jewelry. All except one person." The room grew tense. I felt every eye turn to me. "Every Sunday," Grandma's voice softened, "every holiday, every hospital stay, only Emily showed true love. The rest of you." She paused, her eyes hardening. "You're about to learn what family really means." The recording paused and Mr. Harrison reached for the old shoebox. "Before we continue, Mrs. Carter asked me to share these." He began laying out papers on the table, receipts, bank statements, and photographs. My heart stopped as I recognized them. Every secret act of kindness I'd tried to hide, every penny I'd spent on her care, documented in detail. "Now," Mr. Harrison said, his finger hovering over the play button, "shall we continue?" The room crackled with tension as Mr. Harrison laid out the final document. A copy of my drained savings account, showing the $45,000 transfer to Grandma's private nursing care. "This is obviously forged," Uncle Richard sputtered, his face reddening. "Emily can barely afford her rent, let alone." "I took a second job," I said quietly. "Night shifts at the hospital gift shop. That's how I visited Grandma after hours." "Impossible," Aunt Patricia sniffed. "We never saw you there." "Because you never came after 6 p.m., Mr. Harrison interjected, laying down a visitor's log. while Emily was there every night from 7 to 11, reading Mrs. Carter her favorite books. The video resumed and Grandma's voice filled the silence. "I've watched you all," she continued, her blue eyes piercing through the screen. "Richard borrowing money for your business ventures that always failed. Patricia, asking for advances on your inheritance for your 4th divorce settlement. And my dear grandchildren." She shook her head sadly, coming around only to ask for new cars and vacation funds. My cousins shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Jessica's perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide her growing panic. "But Emily," Grandma's voice softened again, "my quiet Emily who sold her car to help pay for my medication. Who thought I didn't know about the extra hours she worked. Who never asked for anything except more time with me." Tears burned in my eyes as I remembered those precious moments, playing cards in her hospital room, sharing stories about her youth, learning her secret cookie recipe that the rest of the family had been too busy to care about. "Mr. Harrison," Grandma continued, "please show them the shoe box now." The lawyer opened the worn box, pulling out what looked like hundreds of small notes and photos. I recognized my handwriting on many of them, little messages I'd left for Grandma over the years. Get-well cards I'd made by hand. Photos of our Sunday afternoons together. "Emily wrote to me every week," Grandma explained, "even when she could visit. Look at the dates, dear family. While you were all too busy for Christmas 2 years ago, Emily was reading A Christmas Carol to me in the hospital. When none of you remembered my 80th birthday, Emily organized a small celebration with the nursing staff." Uncle Richard stood abruptly. "This is ridiculous. We're successful people with busy lives. We can't be expected to." "Sit down, Richard," Mr. Harrison commanded with surprising authority. "Your mother isn't finished." On screen, Grandma reached for something off camera. "I made 2 wills," she revealed, holding up 2 envelopes. "The first, dated 15 years ago, divided everything equally among my children and grandchildren. The second," she smiled, and I recognized that look, the one that always meant she knew something others didn't. Well, let's just say I finally understood what family truly means. The tension in the room became unbearable. Jessica was openly crying now, smearing her expensive mascara. Uncle Richard had loosened his tie, sweat beading on his forehead. "Mr. Harrison," Grandma said, "you may now read the final will. And Richard," she leaned closer to the camera, "don't you dare try to contest it. I've made sure it's ironclad." The lawyer reached for a thick envelope as the video paused. "Would you like a moment before I continue?" he asked the room. No one spoke. No one moved. My heart pounded as Mr. Harrison broke the seal. Whatever came next would change everything, not because of the money, but because Grandma's final message was about to expose the truth about our family's hollow relationships. Mr. Harrison adjusted his glasses and began reading. "I, Rosemary Carter, being of sound mind and body, hereby revoke all previous wills and testaments." The legal language washed over us until he reached the critical part. "To my son Richard and daughter Patricia, I leave the following message. The money you've borrowed over the years is hereby considered paid in full. That is your inheritance." Uncle Richard's face turned purple. "That's over $2 million, he choked out. "To my grandchildren Jessica, Thomas, and Margaret," Mr. Harrison continued, "I leave this lesson. Wealth without compassion is worthless. Your trust funds have been dissolved." Jessica slumped in her chair, while Thomas crumpled his designer tie in his fist. "And to my granddaughter Emily," Mr. Harrison paused, a small smile playing at his lips, "I leave the entirety of my estate, including the family home, all investments and personal belongings. Additionally," he pulled out another envelope. "This letter explains the foundation I've established in your name, the Rose Carter Foundation for Literary Education, with an initial endowment of $5 million. Emily will serve as executive director, combining her love of books with her natural compassion." The room exploded. Uncle Richard knocked over his chair, Aunt Patricia began wailing about family betrayal, and my cousins started shouting all at once. But then Mr. Harrison pressed play one final time, and Grandma's voice cut through the chaos like a knife through butter. "Before you all embarrass yourselves further," she said sharply, "know this, I've spent the last 5 years watching. Every time Emily brought me books, every time she helped me with physical therapy, every time she simply sat and held my hand, she was proving what family means. The rest of you. She leaned forward, her eyes blazing. You proved something too. The video shifted, showing clips from the hospital's security cameras. My relatives rushing past Grandma's room on their way to business meetings. Them ignoring her calls for water while they checked their phones. And then softer moments. Me reading to her late at night, helping her walk the hospital corridors, decorating her room for holidays no one else remembered. Emily, Grandma's voice softened one last time, you gave me something more valuable than money. You gave me love. The foundation is your chance to share that love with others. And to the rest of you, her voice hardened again, you have something priceless too, the opportunity to learn from your mistakes. The screen went dark. In the silence that followed, Mr. Harrison handed me a small key. To your grandmother's personal library, he explained. She said you'd know what to do with it. I did. That library, filled with first editions and rare books, had been our sanctuary. Now it would become a place where others could find the same comfort we had found in stories. This is absurd, Uncle Richard sputtered. We'll contest it. I have 5 years of documented evidence showing your neglect, Mr. Harrison replied calmly. And dozens of witnesses from the hospital staff. Would you like that made public? One by one, my relatives gathered their belongings and left, their perfect facades crumbling. Only Jessica lingered by the door. The books you read to Grandma, she said quietly, did they help? I nodded. She said they took her mind off the pain. Jessica wiped her eyes. Could you, maybe teach me how to do that? For the children's hospital where I volunteer. It was the first genuine thing I'd heard from my cousin in years. The foundation will need volunteers, I offered. As I left the law office, I held the library key tight. Grandma had given me more than money, she'd given me purpose. The foundation would ensure that stories, compassion, and genuine connection would live on. In my purse, I had her last note to me. Dearest Emily, true wealth isn't counted in dollars, but in moments of love. You've made me the richest woman in the world. Now go make others rich too. And that's exactly what I plan to do.